This is something everybody, I know Nick and I know you guys have heard this multiple times. The high school party concept, which is if you host it, you have the leverage.
Yeah, so it started as a family business and basically I just spun off on my own.
Understood. So like was my intuition given the scale or some other unusual reasoning? That's a huge advantage for you. You get to, right. And so you get to lean in and say, look, this is, you know, like, I think that's an incredible thing to like lean into, which is you have something I had at 28, which is at 28 years old, I knew everything about the wine and spirits business because I've been doing it since I was 14 and I was doing it passionately and I gave up school and social life to be the best at it. And so by the time I was 28, I was by the time I was 28, I was done, actually. I'd achieved what I set out to do at 22. I built one of the largest independent stores. I built a big business for my dad and I was ready to kind of actually start transitioning into something else. That's why Wine Library TV and all this other stuff started happening, which led to the Gary Vee that we know today. And so I think that's an incredible place for you to play. You know, but you have to be self-aware and you don't have to build a personal brand. If we're gonna build it through the company's name, because you're more comfortable with that, then I think you need to produce a show or content, either a running podcast, which again, doesn't even have to be you, preferably you, because when you lose the star, that's a problem. Yeah. I think so I'm a very big, so Boca I'm very interested in, I'll tell you why. I think if you started a podcast called the Boca Small Business Forum, you would crush. This is something everybody, I know Nick and I know you guys have heard this multiple times. The high school party concept, which is if you host it, you have the leverage. So it was always fascinating. Alan Shuttlebauer, big shout out Alan, did it in my high school. Took advantage of his parents not being around, threw the parties, went from a C+, he was B- when he first came, but went right to an A popularity because he hosted the party. Again, whether it's you or some other way you do it, if you have the Boca Business Podcast and you now are inviting other businesses, like the Queen Bee that's been there for 54 years as the baker or the real estate agent or whoever, right? The guy who's got the sailing company, like you host a party, within 5-6 months, you have the podcast that every SMB in Boca is listening to, aspiring to be on, but what it really becomes is a gateway drug to you leasing out your space. You don't have to mention it once and you'll lease it out.
Yeah,
you don't have to mention it once. They're just gonna be like, who is that kid? Oh, he owns a lot, you know, like it's so, I always tell people, let your profile do your selling. Put out a lot of value in your content. If people like it, they're gonna click your URL in your Instagram. Let your profile do your selling.